Hello there, people. Hey, Donnie, can you hear me? Okay. In the middle of, almost wasn't sure if we were going to have class tonight. We're having some technology issues, and I'm still working on. All right, let's see if that works. Let's do a little test. Somebody just unmute yourself and somebody just say hi.
Evening, Chef.
Okay. Success. We'll wait a couple more minutes. We'll just sit here and stare awkwardly at each other. I mean, what else are you supposed to say? What did y'all do during the ice? Anybody go sledding? Anybody go slip sliding? Anybody go ice skating, even if you didn't have ice skates on? Did anybody go driving around doing donuts? Oh, donuts. Did anybody eat donuts? I'm just saying.
Baked lots of cookies and made lots of food.
What else do foodies do when you're stuck in the house?
Get fat.
Well, we're already fat. We just get fatter. All right, maybe just one. Okay. So here's how this is going to work from really from tonight on. So we need to do a couple of little tests of the system, and then we're going to cut. I'm going to cut a little bit, and then you're going to cut a little bit. Maybe I'll give you some feedback as we go. This is going to look and feel maybe a little bit different. Of course, it's going to be different because of the distance. You're at home and I'm here at the culinary school. But just like being here at the culinary school and in person, we're all going to work together. So I'm going to demo, you're going to cut, and I'm going to give you feedback on what you're doing. In order to do that, I need to be able to see, first of all, have you been to the culinary school to get your product? If you're yes, no, thumbs up, no, thumbs up. Okay, one. Kitty has her product. Okay, Donnie, Caitlin, all right.
I looked on the class for today, and I picked up garlic, a citrus, a melon, and some leafy something to cut as well.
Okay, all right.
Will that keep it?
Well, no, keep a hold of it till next week.
Okay.
Your garlic should be fine. Your citrus should be fine. Your depending on how your leafy looks. I mean, if you got spinach, might be it'll be okay. If you got basil, sorry, dude, is probably gonna have to get some more of that. It may not last a week. Tomato should be just fine. If you got everything else on today's list, so I guess I probably should have sent out like a course announcement or an email. In part, well, almost entirely because of the ice last week. We missed, it's very simple, but we missed a very, very important lab, especially for this class as we're in the beginning. And, you know, foundation starts with the footings, and the footings start with digging the trenches where the footings go. Does that make sense? On the building that we're going to build, that is your culinary education. This class is kind of the footings around the foundation. Well, we have to have certain key fundamental elements in place, and we missed that last week. So if you look at the course supply list that I had sent out, and I apologize for not communicating this out. I assume most people come to the culinary school and pick up their product because you did pay a lab fee, and your lab fee provides the product. And if you don't pick up the product, then you do have to purchase it yourself, which is kind of a bum deal because you've paid for it once. Now you have to pay for it again if you're late or you don't get the product. And this time together is really most beneficial if you have the product, and then we can cut together and we can work together. That's the whole idea for this format. But if we're not there, we're not there. Part of learning is we learn. And so next week, from your supply list, what the supplies that are called for in week 5, if you've noticed, it's the same as the supply list for this week. So Donnie, like I said, if you picked up orange and you got tomato and you got some garlic and you got something leafy green, it should have been just like that list, spinach or basil. If you picked up those 4 items, we learned 5 new cuts. And generally, I do these cuts in 2-week blocks. And so the exception will be this week and next week. This week, we're doing what we should have done last week. Next week, we're going to do what's on the schedule for next week. So those cuts, mincing garlic, pasting garlic, chiffonade of basil or spinach or something like that, citrus fruit segmenting, fruit supremes. So lemon, lime doesn't work very well. Grapefruit, orange. I'm providing you orange if you pick up from here. That's just going to be next week and will only be next week, and we won't do those cuts again. Okay. So if you've been to the culinary school, you picked up, you've picked up a carrot, a rib of celery, maybe a rib or 2, and you picked up an onion. We're going to do 4 things. Okay. So a couple of you have logged on since we started. So a little survey once again. Who has been? Yes, you've come to the culinary school. You picked up your product this week. You have an onion, a carrot, and some celery.
I do, Latoya.
Okay. So Latoya, especially you, since you have your product. Maya, you did not, right? Okay. Oh, whoops, don't do that. That was about to be disastrous. I almost hit the wrong button and turned this whole thing off. That would have not been right. So, all right. So let's work on right now how we need to stand and how we need to be, and okay, Latoya, just be careful.
Yep, I got you on the hands free. I just I'm here, but I'm driving. So.
All right. Let me move this camera around and you'll see kind of how I set this stuff up for me. I've got other cameras. You don't need to do all of this and have other cameras and stuff like this. Your phone, your tablet, if you're using a laptop, that's all going to be just fine. But I have, if you can see this right here. So at about a waist high countertop, I've got a board. Board should be non-slip. I'm going to give you a couple of tricks that you can do at home to make sure your cutting board's non-slip. You should be able to stand at it comfortably. The work we're going to do from now on in our lab is going to be just like the in-person classes, and you should be standing. So let's do a little test, okay? If you don't have a board right there with you right now, go to the cupboard, get a cutting board or a cutting mat, something along that kind of flavor. If you have a board and it slips and slides and moves around, then if you'll get maybe a couple of paper towels and just dampen the paper towel and put that underneath your board, it's kind of magic. It'll hold the board in place and it won't slide around. One of the most dangerous things we have in a kitchen is a cutting board that slides around, because you're going to want to chase after the board and you'll cut yourself. So get your board secure on your table or countertop, and we'll regroup. I'll give you a few minutes to take care of that. On your mark, set, go. Even if you're at home and you don't have product to cut, why don't you go ahead and get a cutting board, and let's at least get set. At least one of these cuts, this first thing we're going to do with those that picked up product with celery and carrot, we're going to do the same cut with both of these. If you're at home and you did not pick up product from the culinary school, if you have something else in your fridge, if you have something else like a piece of celery, if you have a carrot, something like that you just have floating around, then you can still do one of these cuts. This first thing we're going to do.
Chef, real quick question.
Yeah.
I picked up my material last week before this ice storm. Does it matter that like my celery's limp or?
No, for what we're going to do tonight, it doesn't matter. Okay. As long as it's not slimy and gross and you don't mind feeling it, you'll probably cut it and then trash it. You may not want to use it, but you'll get the benefit of a cut we're doing. Kitty, are you standing? Are you able to stand?
I sent you a disability note.
Fine. Never mind. You're probably stuck in.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I got that, but this semester I have. I probably have a dozen students, and I usually have one or two that have something that we work on, one-on-one special. And this semester, in food one, there's a dozen at least, and so my apologies. You're just fine.
If you want, I could send you the letter again, just so you can double check it.
Please.
Okay, I'll go ahead and send it right now then.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I guess we've got boards and we're all standing up and we're all ready to go. So now comes probably aside from the actual cutting. Now comes the most complicated thing that we have to do. And that is, I'll show you, whoops, hit the wrong thing. I'm having one of those days. Do y'all ever have one of those days where you, I hope you don't have one of these days. I hope you don't have a day where you intend to hit the brake and you push on the gas. I didn't have that day today. No, I've never had that day. But you want to push the on button and you push the off button again, or, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm having one of those kind of days. Here, that's not the one I wanted to show you. No, I think that is the one I wanted to show you. So I'll move this camera just a little bit to give you a little more of a view so you can see me standing behind the cutting board. Look, I know it's only the third week we've been together, and I still don't know you and you don't know me, but I'm going to tell you I like all of you people. But when we're cutting, and in order for me to give you good feedback about your cutting, I don't need to see you. So maybe, you know, right at the beginning of class, I do. We may have a conversation and we're all talking like we're sitting around in a lecture. But when we start cutting, I want to see your hands, your knife, your cutting board, and what you're doing. And so you don't have to be perfectly focused just on the cutting board, the whole board, but that's what I need to see, and that's what you want me to see, so that I can give you feedback about how you're holding the knife and how you're using the knife, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So everybody, play with how you have your knife, your board, your camera. If you're using a phone, if you're using a tablet, we might have to get a little bit creative with angles. Yvonne, that's fine. That's just fine. Donnie, that's great. Just fine. See what we have to do. Boxes. Kitty's got a towel. That is going to be this. That's going to work. It's going to. Yes. Good. That's fine. Good. Kitty, right there. That's going to be okay. The big challenge. There's Elizabeth. See if it's possible, Elizabeth, for you to move the angle down just a little bit more towards the board. Here's the part where I see tablets crash to the board. We don't want to crack any screens or anything like that. Okay, I think, Elizabeth, let's try that. We'll try that and see how we go. For everybody else, whenever we get set up like this is what I'm after. And it's not me, really. I want you to think about this. We're all learning together, right? And an important part of this is after I demo something and you practice the same thing, the better view I have of your hands and your knife and board and what you're cutting, the better feedback I'm able to give you right in the moment. And that's kind of what we're trying to achieve. So first thing I want to show is how we hold the knife. Okay, so I'm going to move my stuff all around here just a little bit. Let me see if I can get a little bit better with this other camera view. No, I want you to see the same angle. So this is the angle. So this is my view. If you don't see my fat belly. There's my belly. Okay, now here. So you are seeing from my vantage point, it's on a little jig. So it's almost like I'm wearing a GoPro on my head. So you are seeing exactly what I see from my angle. And I think that will help you just a little bit. First thing is going to be the grip of the knife, how we grip the knife. Okay. And the grip is called the pinch. It's called the pinch for a reason. We actually pinch the knife. You've got your handle. You've got the bolster. Some of these things are maybe you've seen on a quiz already, or you've a couple of terms from some key terms. See how we start using this stuff? I'm not just giving you assignments because I'm a mean prick of a chef or whatever. Handle, bolster, blade. On the blade, the back end of the blade is the spine. The sharp part of the blade is the blade. The tip of the blade is the tip of the blade. The back end of the blade is the
spine. Maybe.
That's back here. You may not be able to see if you're still driving. Where I'm pinching right here, the back end of the blade, where the blade meets the bolster, the back end of the blade. I said this once in class this semester a week ago, and I won't say who or in what class. Somebody blurted out the butt. No, this is not the butt of the blade. It's the heel, okay? Like the heel of your foot. Here's the heel. At the heel of the blade, your thumb and your index finger pinch, not index finger tip to thumb tip. It's the flat part, the pad of your finger. And that's what grabs the knife. So my thumb, my index finger. The handle, okay? Now look, let's not confuse this kind of valley, this crevice in your hand versus this crevice in your hand. What is this? This is, anybody do this kind of stuff? This is your love line and your lifeline and your success line and your worry line and your happy line and whatever those lines are. The knife handle needs to fit comfortably right here underneath the pads of your fingers in the palm of your hand, okay? Not this way up into your wrist, this way. So it's resting like this. Pinch. And then these three fingers just comfortably. You don't grip hard. Don't grip so that you see the white skin around your fingernails and all of that. It needs to be very comfortable, okay? You do turn your wrist just a little bit because what you can't see in this camera view and the way I set up these cameras, from the tip of the knife to the curve in your arm where your elbow is, the other side, the curve in your arm, the curve in your arm to the tip of your knife needs to make a straight line, okay? That's going to be very important so that one day when you start cutting lots of product, high volume, you're not going to wear yourself out, okay? You guide the knife with your other hand, your guide hand. And your guide hand is called a bear claw. So I kind of do this in a fun and silly way. If you're familiar with the University of Central Arkansas in Conway, UCA's mascot is the Bears. And one of UCA's mottos is we do it like a big bear. Arr! And so they always do some kind of little grr, some kind of roar. And so I have students say, we do it like a big bear. Arr! And when you make that sound and lift your hand up and curl your fingers like the claws of a bear, notice how my fingers are curled. They're not folded under. My whole hand makes a C. In fact, if you know finger spelling, finger lettering, sign language, basically you make a C, but then curl your fingertips in just slightly. There's your bear claw. Now, the knife, if you lay that bear claw down on your cutting board, the longest finger of your hand, you have your index finger, you have your thumb, your index finger. Start the other way. You got a pinky, you have a ring finger, and then you have your, what do we say? I guess this is the big finger, the long finger, the middle finger, the bird finger, the dirty finger, the dirty bird finger. I call it the disgruntled driver's highway communication finger. This one sticks out longer than any other fingers, okay? This finger is the guide for your knife. Now, here's something that you're going to have to get used to, okay? With this hand holding the product that you're cutting and your knife goes right against that finger. It's not resting on the flat part of the finger right here. It's resting on this joint, the furthest joint out, right on the top of that joint, okay? So look, I'm going to go ahead and give this to you now. And this is being recorded so you can come back and review. But this is, see what I'm doing right here? I'm just rubbing the knife right against that joint. Okay? I want everybody, so put your cameras down to your cutting board. Raise your guide hand up off the cutting board just a little bit. And I want you to rub your knife against that furthest joint out. Just rub it up and down. Rub the knife against that finger. Good. Keep rubbing. Keep rubbing. Okay, Kitty, I need you to put your finger. So, Kitty, we're going to call you a pointer. And being a pointer is rude. We don't point at people. Your finger goes right on the blade. There's going to be a reason why we need to actually be touching the blade, and I'll cover that in a minute. Okay. Yeah, that's right. So now you're just rubbing. Okay. Donnie, that's right. Elizabeth, that looks great. That's all I see right now. Okay. Put your knife down. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a mess. Just everybody all at once. I want you to unmute your microphones, at least those of you that were doing this. So Yvonne, if you were doing this, Elizabeth, Kitty, Donnie, y'all were just doing this little exercise. Unmute your camera, unmute your microphone, and just say out loud, did that feel really weird? Does that feel awkward? Does that make your heart pound and feel funny because you're about to cut your finger off? Does that feel natural as can be? What do y'all think about rubbing that knife against your finger?
I feel like I'm going to cut my finger off.
Uh-huh. Hey.
I'm scared I'm going to probably cut my fingers a lot in this class.
You won't. Well,
I probably will.
I hope you won't, but okay.
That was pretty comfortable. it felt like that knuckle prevented or created a protection barrier from all my other fingers.
It does. If it's curled under, if it's curled right, it does. Okay. All right. I'm going to give you homework. This is not homework for a grade per se, but this is homework that if you really do this, it will affect your grade in the future. So this is homework for a grade. You like how I do that? See what I'm doing here? Here's the assignment. I want you to watch television. What? I want you to watch television 30 minutes a day. Right now, let's start with 30 minutes a day. Okay? While you're watching television, in as much as it is possible, I want you to stand up because we generally work standing up in a kitchen. So like you are now, just like everybody is right now. You turn on the TV to your Netflix, Peacock, Fubaluba, whatever kind of shows that you do, turn on your show. Don't do this while you're watching the news because the news is depressing and you got a knife in your hand and you might just by accident stab the dog or something like that. We don't want that to happen. But I want you to watch the TV. I want you to look at the TV while you're watching TV, while you're standing up with your hands just about as high as you keep the your cutting board. I want you to stand there watching TV with your bear claw, your fingers curled. Keep that bear claw. Be mindful of your grip and rub that joint on your long finger, great finger, your middle finger. I want you to just rub. Okay? Now, let me tell you why. Let me give you some context. I think whys are very important. Why we do certain things, in addition to how we do them, understanding the why is important. I give you a goofy assignment like this because a couple of you articulated this very well, and it's very, very common. That knife is touching your skin, it's touching your finger, and you feel like I'm going to cut myself. Your brain is hardwired for fight or flight. Okay. So, Donnie, you spend enough time in the service, I believe, that you've turned off a little bit of that fight or flight because whether you're a Marine or you're a soldier, you're trained to go in and fight. It doesn't matter what you feel like. You got to go to it, right? Well, we all in this industry have to turn off that little scare. We have to turn off that little feature in our brain that says, this is a knife, it's sharp, it's scary, stay away from this hand because this is going to cut off this. Okay? We can't think that way in this business. When you have 2 hours and you've got 100 pounds of onions, 150 pounds of potatoes, 25 pounds of carrots, 25 pounds of celery, and you need to cut that in 2 hours, don't think I'm just kidding. Don't think I'm just blowing smoke all up your hiney, because when you leave culinary school, 1 or 2 of you are going to land jobs at a big place, maybe like Baptist Hospital or the Marriott or the Capitol Hotel. And there are places just right here in Central Arkansas that are large enough volume that a recently graduated culinary student who would have these skills is going to be expected in 2 or 3 hours to cut a whole big boatload of stuff. And the only way to do that effectively and efficiently first is what we're doing at the very beginning of culinary school. And that's turning off the fear that this is going to cut this. we're going to have to learn quickly to trust this together by learning proper technique. I'm going to show you in a minute. If you grab the celery and you, by instinct, just inadvertently hold the celery like this, you're going to start cutting and off goes the tips of 3 fingers, and class is done for you, and you go to the hospital and maybe get some stitches. Or I see Kitty looking at your fingers now, and we're afraid of the fingers. Okay, it's fine. I get that. It's this method, this technique, and I'm going to beat it up, week after week until we really start getting it. I promise you, as awkward and as goofy as this may feel, for you to just stand there in the middle of the living room, yes, your family, they're going to think you lost your mind, and somebody at culinary school is trying to do some weird things to your brain, and sort of I am, I guess. You have to do this. Now, the second part of this exercise, watch TV. Why in the world would I want you to do this and watch TV at the same time? Unfortunately, with cameras, the one thing that you're missing here in this environment, this format, that the in-person students see is all of me as I do these cuts that we're about to do. I'm able to carry on a conversation. I'm able to talk while I'm cutting, and I'm able to look into the eyes of you, of other students, while I'm working, because this hand is guiding my knife. My eyes aren't guiding my knife. Now, to get to this point will take years of practice, okay? But it's going to start with you doing this at home. And I'm assigning you to do this while you're watching TV. And at first, you're going to look down and you want to focus and pay close attention to your finger and your knife. And then you're going to catch yourself the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th day. Maybe it'll take you 10 days. You'll catch yourself. Now you might be a little more engaged with what's going on the TV, and you're watching what's going on in the TV, but you'll notice that you are mentally also engaged with what your hands are doing. That's an important skill to develop, and it's something that has to be developed. You don't just walk into it. Does that make sense? Yeah? No? Yeah? Good. Bueno. Now let's put this together, and let me show you a cut. Okay. So before I cut anything, I want you to see. I'm going to go to this other camera, so this angle, you'll be able to see something maybe just a little bit better. All right. I'm holding the knife. Let me get the right place. Pay attention to the knife, but also pay attention to my hand. Okay. This first cut, we're just going to rough chop. You can put your knives down. You don't need to cut anything. I don't want you doing while I'm doing this. I want you to see and understand the mechanics of a cut. We're not working on any particular size. It's just a rough chop. The knife comes up, starts up, okay? You raise the heel up. Now, you've probably seen on TV people cutting kind of like this. That's you're crushing the ingredient that you're cutting, okay? Remember a couple of weeks ago when we were sharpening, I mentioned that even under a microscope, this fine, almost razor edge looks like it's a serrated knife. The serrations do the cutting, and they cut in forward motion. So the cut is down and forward at the same time. You execute the cut, You follow through a little bit and then bring the knife up and back. That's a recover. Cut, recover, cut, recover. And if you watch my hand, I'm doing it kind of big, but this is, it's very fluid, and it's kind of like a choo-choo train. Can you see that? My hand is almost circular motion. Next week, when we mince, even a mince is going to be in the same motion, but it's going to be really, really small, really fine. Okay? When I'm doing this, it is still this. Okay? I don't want you to cut by drawing the knife towards you. You have less control. You have less control of seeing exactly where the blade is going in relation to your hand. And so if you're pulling the knife, if you're drawing the knife to cut, then you have more of a possibility of cutting yourself along these two fingers. Okay? You have total and complete control against your guide hand if the cut is forward and down and then back. So if what I'm cutting is right underneath my long finger, notice I'm cutting with the very center, the very middle of my knife. I'm not cutting way up here at the tip, and I'm not cutting way back here at the heel. I'm cutting right in the middle. Forward and down, and then recover. Circular motion. Okay? Before we cut anything, I would like you to move your cameras down to your board, and I want to see you do that same thing. Okay? Yvonne, curl your fingers just a little bit. There you go. The same with your ring finger and your pinky. Curl them in just a little bit. Yes?
This is Latoya. Is this right? I'm not sure. I just joined, so this is me.
Almost. Latoya, your thumb needs to be right on the blade as well. Your finger and thumb needs to be pinching the heel of the blade. There you go. That's a little.
So like this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
See?
Yeah, Yvonne, that looks better. Kitty, that looks good. Elizabeth, that looks good. Elizabeth, so when you go forward and down, okay, a lot of people do this. You go forward and down, but don't raise you've got the knife always on the board. It looks, and it could be just the angle that I'm seeing it. It looks like you're going down to cut, but you're raising the tip of the knife just a little bit. So you're not completely rocking the knife, and don't raise the knife up off the board. Forward and down. There, that's better. Yeah, Donnie, that's good. How does that feel? I get some thumbs up. Does that feel like, oh, don't know, I'm going to cut off my fingers, Chef. I don't know if I like it.
I'm not a fan of knives.
Well, welcome to culinary school and the culinary industry.
Right?
We'll make you a fan of knives in a minute. Okay.
Is it supposed to hit against this finger? Is that what you were saying on the way here?
Is that your bird finger? That's your disgruntled driver highway communication finger?
Yes. So.
Yes, but curled under a little bit. It should be rubbing right against that furthest joint out.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So now we're going to do this, and I'm going to blow up my screen for you so you can see this a little bit better. Do you see this a little bit better now? Okay. Just have a piece of celery. What I want you to do, we'll talk later about waste and what we do with waste and usable waste and stuff like that. We're going to get out a piece of celery. Okay. Wait before you do this. I know it's very tempting. I want to jump in and do what you do while you do it. Don't do while I do. Let me demo for you, and then let me give you feedback of what you're doing. And my camera was going crazy. Did that make anybody want to throw up? So I'm just gonna cut this in half. Okay. And then I'm going to practice exactly what we just did. Okay. My guide, see that way. So let me do it this way. My guide, see, is thumb and my middle finger. My index finger and my ring finger curl behind. If I had something really big and maybe flat that I was cutting, then that bear claw would be like so. Need to have at least 4 points of contact on whatever I'm cutting. We're cutting something kind of slender and narrow. So my main contact is my thumb and my great finger. My index finger and my ring finger curl up behind. Some people use their pinky. I don't, especially when it's small like this, because I've got to cramp up my whole hand. But this is very natural to me. Now, watch this. The celery doesn't move. I'm guiding the knife. I move. My knife moves, but the celery stays put. If you feel like you need to push, you can see from time to time, oh, looky, there's my thumb. There's my thumb. And you see that scar on the tip of my thumb? I've cut the end of my thumb off probably a half a dozen times until I finally got wise that I need to move, the knife moves, but the celery stays put, okay? So with that in mind and applying what we just learned, watch what I'm gonna do, okay? I may make 1 or 2 little practice passes just so I get comfortable, and then I start moving my guide hand with my knife, not pressing hard, my knife just resting against that finger. That's my guide. Notice how my knife, for this cut, my knife never leaves the board. It's rocking against the curve in the chef knife. And I just end up with some rough cut. No particular size. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Can I get a thumbs up or an amen or hallelujah or I don't know what you're talking about?
Yes, chef.
Thumbs up, good. Okay. Donnie and his sous chefs give the thumbs up. That's great. So now,
my son's in here watching with his own chef knife.
Hey, we like that. Start them early. Get out your celery. Score or cut your celery in half longwise. I can already tell you that the one biggest thing that might be your challenge, at least starting off, is going to be move from this. Can you see me? I know you probably only see. Okay, good. Moving from this to yes to that. Okay, even scoring or cutting that celery in half. Get used to not putting that index finger on the spine of your blade. Good. Go. Y'all just start cutting away. Cut, cut, cut. Okay, Donnie, I want to stop you real quick for just a minute. Okay. Just the one big concern is you got too many hands on your cutting board. And I appreciate we want to make this a family affair. They're good. All right, LaToya.
Yes.
Okay. Don't raise the knife up off the board and move the index finger. The grip of the knife is a pinch. You should be pinching the heel, the back. There you go. Yes. No, you still don't raise the knife up. You shouldn't hear it. You shouldn't hear it.
Okay.
No.
So like this?
I don't know. I lost your camera, so you blacked out. I don't know what. So look, I'll do this other half just to show everybody again, and kind of as a little bit of a reminder. Okay, I'm guiding with my guide hand, and the cut is always forward and down. It's not a chop, even though we're calling this a rough chop. Okay, it's forward and down. Let the knife do the work, and be slow about it. There's not a race right now. We're not worried about time. Do you hear my knife?
He's still ripping it. Oh.
So look, I'm gonna put my pinky down just to hold this in place. Okay, y'all watch this. Maybe this will explain a little bit. When we cut, when I see the serrations that we can't see, kind of microscopic serrations, does the cutting is forward and down. Okay. This cuts because our knives are sharp. What keeps them sharp is going to be proper technique. Okay. I might have to use my index finger. That's the cut. Now, I don't want to raise my knife up, but I want you to see this a few times. If you see how squirrely and loose I'm holding this knife, and I'm just letting the knife cut. And if we do that a couple of times, then we get accustomed to the cut is forward and down. It's not a chop. It's a forward motion. The cut is always forward. All right. Do the other half of your celery if you haven't if you haven't done it already. Did everybody do all the celery? Hi, Elizabeth, that looks great. No change. Just keep on keeping on. That's fantastic. Well, we might have lost Yvonne. All right. Okay. Here's the next mission. Here's the next task. Okay. You have a carrot. If you want to save this product, so some of you, a couple of you have some really limp and squirrely celery. You may not want to keep it. Elizabeth, you just held up your carrot. Is that kind of in bad shape? Okay, that's fine. It's okay for cutting. So if you want to use some of your carrot, like for I don't know, it's not really going to be cold again. It sounds like for a minute. I think Saturday is supposed to be 45. If you want to save any of this for maybe chicken and dumplings or something like that. Oh, that's a great idea. I think Saturday chef is going to have chicken and dumplings. The power of suggestion. I suggested to myself. If you want to go ahead and peel these, that's fine. If you don't want to peel these, that's fine. What I want you to do, I'm not going to show you. I want you to cut the carrot in half long ways. Now listen, let me give you a little bit of warning. The celery was easy to cut. That's a good thing to start with. These carrots, these big jumbo carrots are firm, even if it's a little soft. Your carrots are going to be a lot firmer, a lot harder to work with than the celery. And so your technique is this is going to work on that just a little bit, but I want you to do exactly the same thing. So cut the carrot in half. Yvonne, you should be able to, you can use exactly the same cutting board. You don't need to get another cutting board unless you particularly want to. From a cross-contamination standpoint, celery followed by carrot, followed by onion, produce after produce after produce, we're generally okay. It's when we cut some celery, we cut some carrot, and then we peel and devein some shrimp, and then we want to dice an onion. That shrimp.
I was just getting it to put my celery on.
Oh, okay. All right, fine. A teachable moment. I, don't want to correct anybody, but there you go. Thank you. Yeah, so hit it. Go to it. You've cut your carrot in half, then away you go. And I'm going to roam around. Elizabeth, do you work in the business?
No.
Have you ever worked in the business?
No.
All right. You're doing great. I mean, it's like you've done this before. So if you
I just like to cook.
You like to cook. Okay. I'm impressed. Okay, Kitty. I'm gonna just stand by for a second. Look at the screen. Okay. Should see maybe the two of us side by side. I want you to curl like a bear claw. Think of sign language C. That's E. C. Nope. Bring your fingers out. Don't fold your fingers under so much. Nope. You had it up. Nope. There. Oh, nope. Bring there. Right like that. Yes. Yeah. So that's the bear claws. So bear claws come out, you know, kind of just slightly curved. They're not folded under, just slightly curved. I don't want to hold the celery like this, obviously, because when I cut, I'm going to cut off a finger. But at the same time, I don't want to hold the food. I call that a caveman. It's more like a gorilla. Does that make sense? If you've ever watched the Tarzan cartoon anyway, or whatever, this is how gorillas walk. Bring those out. Just slightly have your fingernail just break the plane of even. If this is all flat, you stand the risk of cutting yourself. So I just want to move this slightly curved under. Slightly curved under. Hold the carrot, raise the palm of your hand up. Like you're just using the tips of your fingers. There you go. And there, just slightly bring your fingertips under. That's better. That's better. We'll still work on that, but it's better. Beautiful. Well, good. All right, Kitty, you've got to drop your finger down. There you go. Hey, Donnie.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to need, I need you to be just in class.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you're the one practicing. And then after class, if you want to gather the family around and you want to, you know, share and help, that's great.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there you go. Donnie, don't raise the knife up off the cutting board. So you're going to rock back and forth, but keep the knife constantly connect. There you go. Much more beautiful. Much more better. All right. Okay. Oh, hi. Yes. Elizabeth, you do a great job. I'm just saying.
Chef, I have a question.
Ask it.
What do you want me to do? Oh, what do you want me to do with my pinky? I'm not sure what to do with it.
So what's comfortable?
Okay.
Okay. Again, you gotta as much as you can try to raise your hand up a little bit more, your guide hand. There you go. That's better. That's better. and make sure that your knife maintains constant contact on the cutting board. Almost. It's a good start. Hey, LaToya, that's good. And I saw you just a minute ago. You put your index finger on the spine of your knife, and then you quickly moved it down to a good pinch. So good on you for catching yourself doing that.
Chef, do you want us to cut the whole carrot like this, or are we gonna save the other half?
No, cut the other half of the carrot. Just cut the whole carrot. It's good practice. LaToya, turn the carrot around for the there. No, turn it around so it's resting on the cut side. Then it won't roll around on you.
It's very flabby. My poor carrot.
That's it's okay for this purpose. It's just not something that you're going to save.
So am I moving the carrot or am I moving the knife?
You move the knife.
Okay.
You move your guide and let the carrot leave the carrot as it is. Don't move the carrot. Otherwise, you might cut the end of your thumb off.
Okay.
Okay. John's all done. The toy's almost there. Donnie's there. All right, 1 or 2 minutes, and then we're gonna move on to the next thing. And you can clear off an area if you need to. Wipe your board if you'd like, and get out. And if you don't have an onion, that's fine. You can sit and watch, and then you'll laugh at everybody else that's going to be crying. If you do have an onion, do not do anything with the onion yet. Don't run and peel it and all of that stuff. Just stand by and wait. And stand by and wait. All right. What we're going to do now, with the onion, what we just did with the celery, and what we just did with the carrot is just rough chopping. And so that's kind of a beginning to get some method and some technique down. Now with the onion, we're about to do your first 2 of 26 classical cuts. So keep this in mind to be ready for the final, to be ready for any of the 3 knife skills exams that we have this semester. For the final, you'll cut 15 cuts. And I'll choose those 15 cuts just at random. out of the 26 that we're going to learn. This is your first 2. So you may want to come back and refer to this recording. You may want to go back and refer to the week 3. What we're doing right now is actually stuff that's recorded, pre-recorded in the week 3 folder, even though this is week 4. Notice on the onion, okay, if you have yours, there's a top and a bottom. There's a root side, the bottom. There's the stem side. It may be just a little nub, or it may have like alfalfa from Little Rascals. It might have just that cowlick hair type thing going on. Okay, I call that the stem side. I call that the North Pole. The root side, I call the South Pole. So if this is the North Pole and this is the South Pole, what would this be right in the middle?
The equator.
The equator.
This would be the equator. Now remember this, okay? For these classical knife cuts, the French slice and a dice of the onion, we do not cut the onion in half on the equator. We always cut the onion in half pole to pole, South Pole to North Pole. Okay, so you don't need to do this yet. Let me get through the first cut. So I've cut the onion in half, pole to pole. Now, don't get these confused, okay? Just don't get these confused, because there's going to be a significant difference between the two. Part of that difference is how I prepare the onion half for the cut that I'm going to execute. And so I cut off, notice my technique. Now I have my fingers spread out. Okay, you see that? Instead of like the carrot and the celery, I've got something bigger. So I have my fingers spread out. My thumb's back here. My guide is still that middle finger. Okay, I just take off a slight little piece from the stem, and I take off the root. Then I peel the onion. I just really want to take the skin off. I don't want to take off whole layers of onion. Anybody have an idea? Give me an idea of why I might probably not want to take off whole layers of onion.
Because the onion would just unravel completely.
Well,
get smaller.
It gets smaller. It gets smaller. That's absolutely for certain. Anybody else have an idea?
It's still good produce on that last layer.
It's still good produce on this last layer. Now look, restaurants, the whole food industry lives and dies on pennies. Success for us is really dependent on pennies, little pennies. And this onion's probably 45, 50 cents. And if I take off just a couple of layers, I just take a couple of layers off of this, I'm losing a nickel? Well, what's the big deal? It's just a nickel, right? Remember that example I gave at the very beginning of class? You've got about 2.5 hours to cut 100 pounds of onions and 25 pounds of carrots and 25 pounds of celery and about 50, 100 pounds of potatoes. And you've got a couple of hours to do that. That 100 pounds of onions adds up day after day after day after day, and throwing in the trash a nickel, a nickel, a nickel. we did a little bit of math. And for a large place like a university food service, maybe the Capitol Hotel, maybe the Marriott, maybe the Clinton Library and the amount of catering that they do there. Some of these food service establishments are going to have inventories just of food in the 1,000 to 1,200 different items on their inventory. Okay. If I lose a nickel for every onion times 100 pounds a day, times 3 or 4 days a week, times 52 weeks, times 600 or 700 items on, and that's my practice, times 600 or 700 items on the inventory. We actually did the math last week in another class, and we came up with over $80,000 a year wasted, thrown away in the trash. So if I throw away $80,000 a year, do you know what that means for, say, a prep cook? There's going to be about 6 to 8 prep cooks gone. Can't afford you. And so financially, I need what Donnie had said. I need every single bit of viable, usable product. And so just the skin. Now for this French slice, I've cut stem and I've cut root off. I've got a little bit of a cheat, kind of a reminder, the veins, I can see the little teeny hairline grooves. Okay. I'm going to cut more or less along those veins. Okay. Proper grip, proper guide, proper grip of the knife. Now I am going to raise the knife up off the cutting board, but I'm not going to press the knife. What you see people do on TV, that ruins your blade. I'm not going to cut like that. I'm going to cut what we just did, forward and down against my guide hand. But I want consistent cuts. I want my knife to be straight up and down on the board, not angled in or out. Okay. Once I make a cut, I should have a little cheat because a piece of onion is going to stick to the knife. I use that as a guide for my next cut. I want it the same thickness. Okay. There's my cut. And if I do that the same each time, I end up with consistent cuts from the most narrow, smallest end of the onion up to the tallest is easy. But if I go from tallest to small, going backwards, I lose a little bit of judgment and I start to lack consistency in my cut. So when you get to the very top of the curve, the top of the onion, just turn the onion 90 degrees with what's left. And you're going to repeat that small to tall. Clear as mud. When you get down to that very end, that last cut, to get them both just as narrow as each other, that's going to be a little test of how sharp is your knife. And are you forcing the cut or are you letting the knife do the cutting? Okay. Anybody have questions? What I want you to do is cut your onion in half. And I want you to properly peel and French slice 1/2, only 1/2.
How on earth am I supposed to do it?
Yvonne, I don't know that I should ask this question out in public, but are you wearing gloves because of an allergy to onions or anything like that? Or I'm going to say this out loud. Do you not want to spend the night tonight smelling onions all night long, or you don't want to go to work tomorrow smelling onions all day?
No, I just don't like the feel of food on my hands, on my bare hands. I'm in the wrong business, I know.
Well, maybe a little bit. Go ahead, but just so you know, and for the benefit of everybody else, I am a very, very staunch, kind of hardcore, get rid of gloves. Gloves make us lazy in this business when it comes to sanitation, the cleanliness of our hands. Also, unless the gloves are really tight, perfectly form fitting, you've got little bits that kind of stick out from your fingers just slightly. And especially the next cut we're going to do when we dice onion, is pretty common that at the end of the day, after we're done cutting, you look down and you've got a little bit of glove removed from a fingertip, maybe a couple of fingertips, and then that means we can't use any of that product. So everybody's heard that. There you go. Yeah, again, Elizabeth, that looks great. Kitty, I know you had a little issue getting your onion cut in half initially, but what you've done there, in this business, we're more results driven. So whatever we do to get to where we need to be, as long as what we've done is what needs to happen, then good on you. Good. Hey, Donnie, that was great.
I'm sorry, I just have really small hands, like more than average people, so I struggle and also don't have that much strength.
It's okay. It's all right. You're going to learn. Obviously, we don't learn all of this at one time, or there's some magic about a lesson and in 45 minutes we get this. You're going to learn in this class that even, arm strength, hand strength, upper body strength. Holy cow. Chefs are among the most out of shape people on the planet. We're super pale white because we go to work in the dark and then we go home in the dark and we never see the sun. And we're on our feet all the time. And so backs are bad and shoulders are bad and everything's bad. But what I said a couple of weeks ago in class is so very true. Sharp, sharp, sharp knife. And then we learn to let the knife do the work. And that's all about technique. And when we improve technique, then all other will take care of itself. Yes, very good. Very good. Latoya, I think that looks good too. All right. Let's move on to our last cut of the evening. And this is by far the most difficult cut we have. Now, questions, or it may not work exactly right for you this first time. Be patient with yourself, be patient with the process, And just understand that this is not going to happen perfectly overnight. Please understand that what I'm about to show you, I have done probably 1,000,000 times or more. 32 years as a trained professional. And early in my career, that scenario I gave you, 100 pounds of celery, 100 pounds of onions, 25 pounds of carrots, and 25 pounds of celery, those three things was my every single day for just about my first year in the industry. And so obviously the more you do, well, let me put it this way. True story. There was a newspaper man who interviewed this guy, this baseball player. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of him, but there's a candy bar named after him named Babe Ruth. Anybody ever heard of Babe Ruth before? Or is that a crazy name? You never heard of Babe Ruth? Okay.
The Sultan of SWAT?
The Sultan of SWAT. He used that term even. Not Sultan of SWAT, but he used SWAT in this statement to this newspaper person. He was out and he was practicing. So there was a pitcher on the mound. Obviously, when Babe Ruth was playing, there weren't automatic pitching machines. There was a pitcher pitching to him, and he was swatting at the ball, as he called it. Well, he had just broken the home run record. He set the home run record that had been the home run record for decades until I don't remember which one of the people came along and they were all on steroids and all that stuff. So, 15 years ago or whatever. The newspaper person made a statement, didn't even ask a question, but made a statement that he said this to Babe Ruth: "You have natural God-given talent." And he said, "Not even close, not at all. Anyone can do what I do," said Babe Ruth. "If you swat at a ball 800 to 1,000 times a day, every day, 7 days a week, for 40 years, 30 years, whatever it was, count up all those times, swatting at a ball 1,000 times a day, every day, for 10, 15, 20, for him, 30, 35 years. What we're about to do, I promise you, is going to feel dangerous. And it is if you're not careful. And I'll explain why as we go. So I have my onion half. Okay. Here's where we're going to be different from our last cut. I want to just take off the stem. But I want you to notice this about an onion. Okay. Where the root is, if you turn your onion half over, even though you're not cutting anything right now, turn it over and notice where the root is, you have this solid core and all of the onion layers grow out of that core. It is very important for this cut that we leave that core intact. Otherwise, you're going to have onion go all over the board, go everywhere, and you won't have consistent cuts. Okay, so we leave the root side attached. We cut the stem side off. We're going to peel our onion. We want to make sure, as much as we can, we get just the peel and not whole layers, right? Oh, and sometimes the layers want to be kind of squirrely. So I'm just using my knife because I don't really have fingernails. I'm using my knife to get right underneath the skin. I'm not peeling it. This just does not want to cooperate. There we go. Get rid of all that skin, and if there's any dirt or anything like that, put that in your waste. All right. This is a dice. A dice is a three-dimensional cut. A dice has 4 sides. It really has 6 sides. So in order to achieve the 6 sides, the onion has layers. And we're going to do 3 other dimensions. Okay. We're going to do a series of cuts up from the cutting board, parallel to the board. Parallel means exactly side by side. Parallel cuts moving up the onion. But we're not going to cut it all the way through. We're going to cut it about 15%. We're going to cut all the way back, leaving about 15%, maybe 20, about 15% from the root uncut. That's going to ensure that we keep the onion all together while we do these other cuts. So our first is parallel to the board. Our second cut will be with the point of the knife back towards the root, pointing to the root, perpendicular to the cut we just made. And then, as if we're cutting slices out of this on the equator side, we're going to take slices out. However thick I make the cuts parallel to the board, that determines how thick my perpendicular cuts and how thick my slices are. That's going to render my individual dies. The goal is to create as equal and even sizes as possible. They're going to be odd shaped because to start with, the onion is half moon. The onion is in layers, and those layers are circular in shape. And there is no possible way for us to dice the onion in the same way that we're going to dice a potato later in the semester. I hope that makes a little bit of sense. But one thing I need to do, I might need to move the camera just a little bit so you, in order for me to do this, I need to be able to have my hand and my handle off of the board. So I move my board to the edge of the table. I move my onion to the edge of the table. And can you see that? Let me see how we do with this camera right here. I'll move back here just a little bit. So maybe okay. So my parallel cuts, parallel to the board, I'm going to start with the heel of my knife. Okay. I'm going to make one continuous motion. My camera's having a hard time focusing. There you go. One continuous motion. Now look, if you have to saw back and forth just a little bit, go right on ahead. But whatever you do, make sure that you stop and you don't cut all the way through. What I like to do is one continuous motion. See how this could be dangerous? Because I'm cutting right where my fingers are. I'm going to do just a little bit more right up here on the top. So you can take your time. All right. Now I'm going to make my cuts that are perpendicular to that using more the tip of the knife. And I need to make those cuts the same thickness as I did those slices. And so you may have a little bit flare out. Just hold that in place. The key is I'm not cutting all the way back. I'm not removing any bit of the onion yet. And now from here, I'm going to come up off of the edge of the board. Okay, I'll come back here a little bit so you can see a little better. Now, my grip is going to change just a little bit because, or my guide. I'm going to use my pinky and my thumb to hold the bottom layer, the outsides of the onion in. Otherwise, as I start cutting, the further back I go, those outsides are going to want to flare out. Okay, I want to keep those in. These three fingers come to the top of the onion, curled in just slightly so that that front knuckle, that front joint, guides my slices. And the slice is forward and down, one continuous motion. And I need to make those the same thickness. Okay? So that I get diced onion that's all the same size. All the same size is important. I don't know if the videos I put up before even mention this at all, but same size is important so that if I have odd shapes are okay for onion, but I have little teeny pieces and I've got some big chunks. The majority of what I have are going to be middle size. I cook to that middle size, which means the big chunks are going to stay on the raw side and the little teeny pieces are going to burn. We want everything to to cook universal. Okay. So, do you have any questions about the dice?
How many horizontal cuts do we have to do?
Say that again. I didn't understand.
Like how many horizontal cuts do we have to do? Like
so
how many would you do?
That's a great question, Kitty. It depends on the size of your onion. Obviously, you're going to have more narrow onions, smaller onions. You're going to have great big onions, and you're going to have fatter, thicker. So I would say for a good, decent diced onion that you're going to use in your meatloaf, you're going to use in your spaghetti sauce, that you're going to use in your omelets, you probably want each cut that's parallel to the cutting board, your first layer, you probably want to go right around half an inch, no bigger than half an inch. You probably want to be in the ballpark of a quarter to a half an inch. Okay. That would be ideal. Right now, the first time you're doing this way, do the best you can to get 3 or 4. With Kitty, with the knife or the onion that you have right there, I would say you should probably be able to get 4 layers, 4 cuts up from the board. If you just get 3, that's fine. Right now, we're just learning the method. So it would be safer, I think, right now for you to do 3. But for the future, I think you can get 4 out of that size onion. Good. So everybody go. You cut off that stem side and peel. Latoya, good. There you go. Yes. So right there, Latoya, stop. Don't do anything else. Okay. Right there, put your guide hand back down on the onion. Okay. With some slight pressure towards the root of the onion, just draw your knife back towards you and come all the way out of the onion. Yes. That good. That's it. Perfect.
Chef, real quick question.
Donnie, you're up.
If our onion is browning on our second layer, should we peel that second layer or just go
Peel
with
it? Peel it. No, peel it. That browning is another layer of that outside skin. And
yes,
that's the stuff, if you've ever put it in your mouth, if you've ever eaten something and you got something that it doesn't chew really well and it's kind of like paper.
Yes, sir.
They didn't take that last layer off.
Yes, sir. Where's my mute button?
Chef, I'm unsure how to put exactly my hand for it to be as safe as possible.
So look. Yeah, turn how you are right now. Okay. So support the onion. Okay. Now, carefully, because you've got so much of the palm of your hand on the onion, it's okay. We have to do what we have to do. Applying just a little bit of gentle pressure on the knife toward, wait, don't cut yet. Do this at the same time. Woo, I got COVIDs. No, not really. The same time, okay, you're gripping the onion. You've got the knife in a little more than halfway. You're about 2/3 of the way back. At that point, a gentle pressure with the blade towards the root and just draw the knife out of the onion. Draw the knife towards you out of the onion at the same time, and it's going to be safe and you're going to be just fine. Keeping your guide hand supporting the onion exactly how you have it right now. Don't move your hand around while you're doing it. Go, let me see you do it. Yeah, it's fine. It's a good start. Great. Yeah, stop. Now just draw the knife out. Good. Nope. You've got a couple of, turn the onion just the way you're sitting. Turn the onion so that the stem side that you cut off is facing you and the root is away from you. There. Now using the tip of your onion, now you need to make the parallel cut of the perpendicular cuts. Yes. Good. Great. Donnie, that's looking great. Hey, good. Latoya, that's a great. That's a fantastic start.
Great. Nice.
Okay, Elizabeth, where is the root side? The root side. So turn it around. okay, using the tip of your knife when you do those perpendicular cuts, okay? So basically, no, I see what you did. The root of the onion is away from you, right? Is towards me, towards the camera. Yeah, you did this backwards.
This is the root that I cut in front of you now.
You cut the root?
No.
Stem.
The stem.
Okay. Yeah, turn it around so that the root is towards me, away from you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's cut too. Is that cut?
Not yet.
Both? Okay, all right. But look, when you're making those perpendicular cuts,
mm-hmm.
those perpendicular cuts go all the way down to the cutting board, but you don't cut all the way back to the root.
Okay.
Using the tip of your knife, move the tip of the knife towards you just a bit so that you leave the back probably 15% of the onion untouched, uncut. Okay. So just remember that for the future.
Okay.
Kitty, you're going to cut a whole lot better if you move your index finger off the top of your knife. It's habit. I know it's habit. So we got to work on breaking habits. I'll remind you. Now, Yvonne, that is like nearly perfect. You have just a little nub of onion left, and that's great. We don't want a whole big bunch of waste. So very good. Yeah, Donnie, that's exactly right. That's precisely what you want to do, so that there's just that little nub, that core piece around the root. That's all we want to have left. Y'all are doing great. This is you know what? This is absolutely, I just have to say, you guys, this is the best online Food One class I have this semester. It's absolutely, you are the best online Food One class I have all this semester. Seriously, that was a little bit of, I guess, teacher humor. I don't know. You're the only online Food One class I have this semester. But seriously, this is, I feel really good. This is a great start to the semester. Now, let me, if some of you still have a little cutting to do, that's fine. But I'm not going to keep everybody while you practice. How do you practice these new things that we learn in culinary school? How do you practice? I'm going to ask you first before I just tell you. How do you practice this stuff?
You dice onions, saute them, put them on a steak.
Okay. Yeah.
I have to do this at work, so I'll just practice there.
Yes. The way
I have 4 children and 10 and a half grandchildren. That's how I practice.
10 and a half.
Well, I've got one due in June.
Do you all eat foods? Do you eat foods that you cook? And so, yes, you need to dice onions that you're going to saute, or French slice onions that you're going to saute and put on a steak, or put on your burger. Maybe you turn some of these cuts into chicken and dumplings this weekend. Something. It's kind of a drag, especially to do this stuff, to put out some additional expense. The culinary school, your lab fees don't provide you with extra product for you to practice on throughout the week. Unfortunately, that's just the case. Sorry, nothing I can do about that. But you eat, and when you eat, you've got to prep things. Hopefully you're not living on Stouffer's heat and eat. But if you do, maybe this will be a little encouragement to do some more cooking for yourself. And when you cook for yourself, from today on, forevermore, this video, like the one before, this is going to go into Blackboard. But if you notice, the videos that are in Blackboard are in YouTube. And so if you keep the YouTube links, the YouTube stuff, then even after this semester, you can still go back and get a little refresher if you need it. Okay. But you're going to practice by every time you dice an onion forevermore now, you're going to dice an onion this way. I'm cooking at home. This is how I dice an onion. The more you do it, the easier it will become until it just becomes natural, becomes your nature to do. Okay. Culinary school, and each class that you attend, each session, this is especially true in this class, but I think it's true in every class. Coming to culinary school is a lot like learning to play the piano. And if you ever took piano lessons, then this really, really will make sense. And if you haven't, let me tell you what taking piano lessons feels like. You go once a week and you sit down at the piano stool next to a piano teacher. And the piano teacher is going to, at the beginning, you're going to learn your notes and you're going to learn keys and all of that. Well, you don't learn to play piano with the piano teacher. You don't learn to play piano in piano lessons. The purpose of the piano teacher is to basically guide you in what your practice should be. And so your piano teacher is going to say, here's a new scale. I want to see you do this scale once or twice. Now, 30 minutes a day, every day, I want you to practice this scale this week. And you go to your next piano lesson and you sit down next to your piano teacher and they're going to say, play me your scale. Based on the quality of your playing, they can tell if you've done some practice. This is no different. Okay. I will be able to tell next week with the cuts that we're going to do, if you spent some time this coming week watching TV, rubbing that knife against your finger, I'm going to be able to tell over the next couple of weeks if you've diced an onion at home and if you've diced an onion several times. I am your piano teacher. All I'm doing week after week is guiding you in this journey to learn how to use a knife. And I just want to leave you kind of with that thought, because what you do between now and next Thursday is much more important to you and your culinary development than just the hour and a half or 2 hours that we're spending together here right now. Does that make sense? Jess? Good. Does anybody have any questions, comments, complaints? Good. The complaint department just closed, so we're only taking compliments now. So the compliment department is just opened. Yes, we'll accept those. Seriously, everybody have a good night. I'm glad nobody cried. Nobody cried that I could see.
Chef, quick question.
Yes, Donnie.
Is there too thin of a cut for sauteing?
So, of course, the thinner you go, the quicker it cuts, the quicker it cooks. So there's no such thing as too thin. There is too thin and too small, and then you cook it too long, and then you burn it up. Does that help?
Yes, Chef. Yes, Chef.
All right. LaToya has an opening for, if you could see that. Oh, that was directly to me. Go ahead, LaToya, you can plug it.
Okay, cool.
Can't hear you. Are you talking?
Yes, I'm
okay.
talking.
There you go. You can hear it.
All right. Yeah, I work at Stonebridge in Conway. It's an assisted living facility, and we have an opening for 2 cooks. Pretty random shifts. You can kind of make your own. If you want to do part-time, she's cool with that. If you want to do full-time, she's cool with that. If you're in the internship for dietary managers, this also counts as your internship hours. They start you out at 13, I think. So I will put my phone number on here if you guys want to like text me if you're interested. But they want somebody to start pretty much immediately. So if you need a job, we need people because it's kind of stressful. So
LaToya, do you go to work tomorrow?
I do not, but I'm texting them like I'm pretty much, I'm on call kind of, but
feel free, even this evening, if you have anybody, if you have their direct contact, feel free to share with them my email.
Definitely.
And have them send me like, we have a job board and we can put that out. We also have a distribution list. You should start seeing from time to time. It usually takes brand new, our first semester students. It might take several weeks before you're added to the distribution list, but there's job announcements that go out pretty regularly. There were 2 that came through just yesterday. And so we certainly want to support industry locally. Those that, our students could go to. Quite a few people live in Conway. And so if you could have them send me directly an announcement or a job posting kind of a thing, they should have maybe a little form or a write-up. And I will get that forwarded to all the right people. And maybe you could have help by middle of next week.
Yeah, definitely. I will send you guys, I can send you the Indeed link tonight, I think, because that's how she mostly gets her applications. But I'm also the dining manager, so I'm like interviewing people. So if you guys really just want to text me, you can. So I will do that tonight. And I'm sort of desperate.
And if you can, LaToya, send me something. Send me in an email form, who to contact, what you're looking for, the pay, whatever it is, basically what you said just now. And I can get that sent out to just about everybody in the culinary school.
Sweet. I will do that tonight.
Right. Okay. What else? Yvonne.
Yes, I just want to say that I was a little nervous tonight because I knew you would be watching this. And I just want to thank you for not condemning us and encouraging us instead.
Listen.
It made me very relaxed.
Good. I want everybody, I'm glad you said that, Yvonne, and I hope everybody feels the same way. This is a learning process. I, in food production 1 and food production 2, I will be introducing you to a lot of new stuff that you've never done before. I'm asking you, Kitty, holy cow, how many times did I tell you to move your index finger off of the top of the knife, off the spine, and pinch it properly? You've got everybody. You have a lifetime of habits, and I'm going to work to try to correct. I'll use that word. We're going to try to correct bad habits, bad in terms of there are certain ways to do things so that you can be quicker, you can be more efficient in the kitchen. How to do this and how to do that, you're being introduced to a lot of brand new stuff, and it's going to be quicker and quicker and quicker as we go. I'm going to say this because Yvonne said what she said just a minute ago. I want y'all to really listen and sincerely mean this. This is the place, and I'm referring to food 1 and food 2. The expectations are going to be quite a bit higher in food 3 and food 4, but those are learning environments also. We're just in the deep end of the pool there because you're physically working in the restaurant. In food 1 and food 2, the way I usually tell people, this is the place to burn it up. This is the place to make it raw, undercook it, overcook it, cook it wrong, mess it up, cut it wrong. And then we all learn from that. I would be a very poor teacher if I expected you to already know or to pick it up right away. I guess this is my way, a long way. This is my way of saying you have permission to mess up. Your grade academically, or not exclusively, but it's more based on your effort than the actual quality of your cuts. Now, we do have knife skills exams, and in your knife skills exam, when we get there, there's a way to cut, and there's the technique to cut, or there's the quality of the cut, and that's evaluated. But we'll talk about that when we get there. I hope everybody feels as Yvonne does. This is the place to learn, and learning, you've got to feel like it's okay to mess up. Nobody's going to get mad, and you didn't do what I told you to do. And so I hope you all feel that way. Anyway, if there's nothing else, have a good night. Cut onions. And then when you're done with that, watch TV and then go cut onions. That's all I have to say. Nighty night.